All right, welcome back to the Laydown podcast. It's been a long time since we did this. The last time we did this was October 17th of 2022. And back then, the starting quarterback of the 49ers was Jimmy Garoppolo, and the starting running back was Elijah Mitchell.
Jeez. Oh man.
I'm, of course, joined by my co-host, Lenny B. Who, of course, if I need to remind anybody, is a 49ers fan, and the 49ers will be playing in Vegas tomorrow in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. And man, Lenny, it's been a long time since we did one of these. So, how we feeling?
I'm feeling so good. I'm just I'm just so excited for tomorrow. I mean, it's I have a lot of feelings about everything, how potentially how this could go, whether I'm going to be down here or up here, but I mean, the last time the Niners were in the Super Bowl, I was a freshman in high school and now I'm a freshman in college, which is just weird to think about because people have to wait a lot longer than that, but that felt like forever. And that was only 4 years. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I would have been I would have been a sophomore in high school, and now I'm a sophomore in college. Like,
Crazy.
that's 4 years. It's a presidential term, basically, 4 years, even though it doesn't seem like that, right?
If you listen
Uh,
to all the conspiracy theories, that's a big deal.
okay, whatever. Yeah, it's the whole NFL's rigged thing, right? So, we should even play the game, should just hand the Chiefs the trophy,
Yeah,
because the season
13.
doesn't lift. But I wanted to like, how has this season felt as a 49ers fan? Because I feel like you've been the main character of the NFL season. I feel like specifically Brock Purdy has been the main character.
Hmm.
Obviously, you guys entered as one of the favorites to win the NFC and win the Super Bowl. I think you were fourth or fifth in odds, but it was a pretty steady ride through the regular season, but the playoffs must have been very, very stressful. So, how have you felt? How's the season felt as a Niner fan from beginning to end? And just take me through that.
Well, I'm going to take you through right after we lost to the Eagles because that was really when the season started this season.
Yeah.
Um, when they lost to the Eagles, I've it's recorded that I've said this. I thought the Niners Super Bowl window was officially over. I think I officially said that because of their cap situation and just generally Purdy getting his elbow screwed up. I thought he was done. Like I thought it was going to be a lot worse. It was really like the reports on his elbow were a lot worse than what it actually was because clearly he's still fine. But then we signed Javon Hargrave and we re-sign everyone we needed to re-sign. We trade Trey Lance. Brock Purdy is the starter. Then I was feeling pretty confident during the off season. I felt like we were a Super Bowl contender. I felt like the NFC wasn't super strong, and I think it was right. We beat every single team, and it felt like after we lost the Super Bowl in 2019, in 2020, Shanahan kind of like the way he was coaching the team. He's like, this is the revenge tour year, the year we go out and beat everyone else again and run the table this time. That didn't happen. We got our ass kicked because we had a bunch of injuries, but this year really felt like the revenge tour. And if we beat the Chiefs, it's going to feel like the revenge tour twofold because we go against the Chiefs again. We clear the NFC. We beat everyone that has beaten us in the past, except for the Ravens. Those are the only team we didn't really beat that we probably would count towards that. But I mean, beating Dallas the way we did, beating the Eagles the way we did, especially after last year, um, and then going into Green Bay, and then going down and having every single reporter tell me, Lenny, they cannot come back from a lead. The Niners O-line cannot pass block. Brock Purdy cannot throw under pressure. He cannot run like Lamar Jackson. And then he goes out, has one of the most impressive playoff games I've ever seen from a Niners quarterback. Probably the most, either Green Bay or Detroit, which is not saying a lot, but still. And that was an incredible experience watching Dre Greenlaw take that interception. I was like, I had a bad feeling all week before that Green Bay game. I was feeling Green Bay's pretty solid. I'm not like the Niners have had 2 weeks to rest, 2 or 3 weeks for Purdy since anyone who got benched hasn't played in 3 weeks. And then I was feeling pretty low at one point. I was like, damn, we might just lose this. And then to come back and be so energetic, I was like half the game I was just like this. I wasn't talking. I was like a little pissed off. And then at the end, I was hugging everybody. I'm like, oh my gosh, we get to play the Lions next week. Or we didn't know if we were playing the Lions. No, we knew we were playing the Lions. It was
that the Saturday night game.
Yeah, it was this. Detroit was on. I knew we were playing Detroit. I think. Did we? No, we didn't. No, that was
the day before, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Anyway,
I thought you were playing Detroit because they were going to be at Tampa.
We thought we were playing Detroit because they were playing to Tampa. And then next week, I was like, okay, we got all of it out of our system. And then we go down 24-7 at halftime. And I was like, this embarrassing run defense. I was absolutely in shambles. You thought I looked pissed off and sad after going down like 7 to 10 points against Green Bay? Oh no. I was about ready to turn the TV off at halftime. I think I texted in the group chat that the game was over already.
You just kept saying they have to either adjust massively or fire Wilkes. Basically.
I said that they either have to put 5 D linemen on the line of scrimmage, because if you're going to put 6 O linemen at the line of scrimmage, you might as well put another D lineman at the line of scrimmage. Or I don't know. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I was just
feed or something. Yeah.
And then the Niners, I don't even know what happened. They just turned it on and showed why they're the best offense in the NFL, showed why this defense deserves to have at least a modicum of respect, which I did not expect to say at the end of the game. And it all started with the field goal that Jake Moody made, because I was like, okay, if he misses this field goal, we're probably going to lose the game, because it was just a momentum thing. On the first drive, we go out and kick a field goal. Next drive, Lions get the ball. Fumble! Oh my gosh! They're already going to get the ball back?
That's not what the next drive, the Lions drove down the field.
Oh, yeah, on a 4th down conversion. That's right.
They go for it. And Josh Reynolds drops the conversion.
And then Josh Reynolds drops it. I'm like, okay, hold on.
That play changed the game.
It's only a 14-point game. And then Purdy drops back, throws it up, throws it right into the defender, his face mask, and it drops, comes up. Brandon Ayuk catches it at the 2-yard line. I got up from my chair. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a game. We're not done. Our season isn't over. And as soon as that play happened, I knew we were going to win the game. I knew it was over. I knew the Lions were going to win.
Yeah, I kind of did too. Especially the sequence of Reynolds drop, Ayuk catch, Gibbs fumble. It's just like you don't win a game. It happens to you.
I was jumping from my chair and I was yelling across my room, oh my gosh, oh, we're going to win. We're going to the Super Bowl for the next, until the 4th quarter ended. I was just so happy and so excited because, people say it's bad to be a perennially average team and not make the playoffs, but it really sucks as a fan when you see them get right to the doorstep consistently and they just can't do it. And it's just because it hurts, because you know how good the team is. If a team is bad and they lose in bad ways, then you're not you're pissed off that the team's bad, but you're not lingering on to the team.
Being a Falcons fan's been for the last 4 years.
It's just well, they lost, but let's next year maybe. You're not going to think about this season, right? This season that we just had with Arthur Smith, you're not going to think about that, right?
No, I've already forgotten.
I will always remember the 2019 season, the 2021 season, the 2022 season, and hopefully I remember this season for the good thing, for that shiny Lombardi. So that's been really my journey. I forgot to mention the 3-game stretch where Debo and Trent Williams went down. That was very concerning, frankly, as a Niner fan. I was like, oh, we got to play Philly soon. Oh, and that was when Philly was on their win streak. So it really felt like we had a chance to lose that game, and then we kicked their ass. And then I wasn't even worried about the playoffs at that point. I
Yeah.
was like, all right.
Yeah, I had you guys winning the NFC basically all year. I picked you guys in the preseason to go. I actually had the Bengals there too, which we know how that went with Burrow getting hurt. But
Very last season for the Bengals.
um, that you guys started, I think 5-0. You humiliated Dallas on Sunday night, and it just looks like, yeah,
Steelers
this
too. Steelers
this
was
is
good
the
too.
best team in the NFL. And then you had the 3-game losing streak, and I remember after you played Jacksonville, and at the time, Jacksonville was like 5-3, 5-2, or 6-2, I forget, but
They
they
were
were a
good.
really good team record-wise, and you just kicked the shit out of them. Like, it was bad, and I was like, "Yeah, this team is serious," and you just kinda coasted through the rest of the year until I guess the Raven game, but I mean, it's still like the Ravens, you could argue, were the best team in the NFL this season. So like that really was, and Purdy threw 4 interceptions, of course. But the 49ers, I've been very impressed by their consistency of play, how dominant this offense has been. Defense is obviously taking a step back from recent years, but
Oh, for
it's
sure.
still a good defense. It's like I'll get to the elephant in the room. What's the Brock Purdy story been? Because obviously this
That
guy
is a good question.
came in last year, and it's been, other than the NFC Championship game, it's just been kinda going like this the entire time in terms of everyone's perception of him. Um, so
Well, it's weird because, like, okay, so when he came in 2022, I didn't even know who he was, to be honest. I don't think most Niner fans even knew who Brock Purdy was. And I remember Mitch texting the chat. He's like, "Well, Niners, I think they could maybe." Like, Lenny, what do you think about the Brock Purdy? I'm like, he might do something. I don't know. At that point, I was just like ultra bummed out. Pun not intended. And I thought maybe not the season was over, but I mean the ride that we went on in 2022, where we just kept winning and winning and winning and winning and
after
playing
the
good. It
trade, yeah,
was a magical feeling. It kind of felt like how I'd imagined the 2017 Eagles felt with Nick Foles, but didn't go all the way. It just felt like it was destiny at that point. And for him to go out and replace Trey Lance, the guy that we put so much capital into and who I've on record very much criticized and not liked
you can go
whatsoever.
check the old episodes to get Lenny's opinion on Trey Lance.
Yeah. um, I mean, I have got no reason to not like Brock Purdy, and it just really perplexes me why a player who's in his second season, who's had the best statistical season of any Niners quarterback in history of the franchise, a franchise with Brock Purdy, not Brock, Jeff Garcia, Steve Young, Joe Montana, and a bunch of other guys. This was the best statistical season. I mean, I don't understand why someone in his first career start, like for forever, like for the entire year, is getting criticized so much. He
Yeah.
started for 1 year. Patrick Mahomes started for 1 year, and his first year, he lit it up, right? His expectations were low, and he was a first-round draft pick. And no one gave him flack for losing to the Patriots. And obviously, he had a great year, but the point I'm trying to make is it's just incredible what he's done. I don't understand why we have to have this debate. I mean, I understand he has amazing weapons. So, can we not just appreciate Brock Purdy for what he's done?
And I think when people like the Brock Purdy debate, like, what are we even debating? Like, yes, does he have great weapons and a great scheme? Of course. And has some of the past defenses he faced been flawed? Yeah, but like he's still pretty much doing as much as you possibly can with those tools at his disposal. Like, it's not like he's underperforming with those guys. He's putting up historically efficient numbers.
No, exactly.
And the 49ers, like you guys have been a defensive team for most of the last 5 years.
For sure.
And this year, this is an offensive team.
I think in 2022, it was pretty balanced by the end there. I don't think it was
Yeah.
either way. But this is the first year that I've watched the Niners where it's been The offense needs to go or the team fails. And that's just something I'm not accustomed to as a Niner fan, but it is what it is. And the fact of the matter is, people say that Brock Purdy is replaceable. You want to replace him with Jimmy G? With Trey Lance? With Nick Mullins? With CJ Beathard? With Brian Hoyer? Wait, what was the name of the quarterback who came in 2022 in this NFC Championship game?
Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson. I mean, I know those aren't it's not a high bar for them.
He's Kyle Shanahan's best quarterback since Matt Ryan.
It's not even close. It really isn't very close. I mean, Jimmy G was good. He was fine. He was fine for us. And Jimmy G's kind of dead to me because he's picked the Chiefs over the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That relationship ended poorly for sure.
Oh, yeah, it did. Benching him like twice and all that, yeah. But anyway, I just cannot be more happy to have Brock Purdy as my quarterback. And I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to get better. And the weapons are probably going to get worse at this point because that's just how it is in the NFL. We're going to have to pay Purdy at some point. And I hope at some point it can be Purdy and it doesn't have to be all these weapons and the offense stays relatively the same, which I know is probably not going to be true, but who cares at the end of the day? He's doing something that no Niners quarterback has done since Jeff Garcia or even just Colin Kaepernick maybe that one season in 2012. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, Brandon Ayuk was just as good as he was this year, last year, and the year before that. But he had Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback who couldn't throw more than 10 yards to him. So he would just get open. I remember I can count like at least 10 times last year where Brandon Ayuk would be like, I'm wide open. Oh my gosh. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, he's all check down. And then it would just cut to the camera to him, and he's just all.
And it's just, I don't know why we can't just appreciate his story. Like, why do people have to go? Like, I don't know what about Brock Purdy is so triggering to people. It makes no sense, but it is what it is, I guess.
I don't even think Jimmy Garoppolo got this much flack. I'm going to be honest.
I think maybe because it was more obvious with Jimmy. Like,
yeah, okay, that's true.
When they threw 8 passes in a playoff game and they won by 17, it's like we kind of know who this guy is, and especially after the Super Bowl, it became evident. But with Brock Purdy, it's like this guy, he is making plays outside of structure. His scrambling was key in that Lions win. He is trying to throw the ball downfield. It's like it's clear he's making plays outside of just the easy Shanahan system plays that can be provided to every quarterback.
So obvious to anyone who's watched the
Niners play.
It's just so obvious.
Watch him play.
I vividly remember watching Jimmy Garoppolo and thinking if they called a bootleg, he was either going to be an incompletion or an interception. That is the mindset.
Dude, Lenny, I remember we were on for the 2021 playoffs covering them with the Niners. And you were telling me, every time Jimmy Garoppolo drops back to pass, I think he's going to throw an interception.
It feels like that. It felt like that. It doesn't feel that way with Purdy. It just
and I'll be fair and say Purdy has made some risky passes, and he's a risk taker, man. But I like that about him because Garoppolo took dumb risks. Garoppolo was reckless at times. Purdy takes, one, more calculated risks, and two, he's just more likely to complete some of those passes. Like he's a playmaker, and I don't think people give him enough credit for that. I want to like, which 49er do you want to see win the Super Bowl most? Which player?
That's a very hard question. Like, very hard. I'm gonna list some people off that wouldn't be super high. Okay, so I don't think I'm super crazy about Charvarius Ward as much as I love him. He just hasn't been around long.
Well, I'm guessing Ward, maybe McCaffrey's in a different category, but I'm guessing.
I love McCaffrey, but he hasn't been.
I would guess it's one of the older guys. Maybe
someone who was around in 2019, I think. So who was that?
Kittle,
Debo. Bosa. I think I want Kittle. I want Kittle to have a ring probably the most. Maybe Fred Warner. Kittle or Fred Warner.
Was there. Juszczyk was there.
I think Kittle or Fred Warner. because
That's
those two are very close to being Hall of Fame caliber in their own right without a Super Bowl. But I think like I mean I think Kittle would probably get in today. But if they got a ring on top of all that,
their
plus
locks.
the viral clip, of course, of Kittle being like, "I'll be back, I'll be back," and I remember vividly thinking, I don't know, Kittle. This might be one of the most like poorly aged like clips, and I felt so bad. Bosa too. I remember when Bosa cried and he had the towel over his head.
Yeah, man. Like,
There's so many things. Geez, I
I'll
have
talk
PTSD
about
over
it,
it.
but, like, the 40 it's been hard, like, it has been
Yes,
scarring
it's
for
been
you
hard.
because you led 20-10, and then, wasp happened, Garoppolo fell apart, Shanahan had questionable play calls, you lost a game that it looks like you were gonna win.
You know what? I think I take it back. I think the Niner I want to win a Super Bowl the most is Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
I think I want Kyle Shanahan. I honestly believe I want Kyle Shanahan to win a Super Bowl more than any of these guys
well, if
because
you
this
look
will
at
be hung above his head forever if he doesn't win this one.
yeah,
And he
well, I
probably
said that
yeah.
on BLV versus Consensus yesterday, like, I'll get to Shanahan in a second, but, like, just since that Super Bowl against Kansas City, obviously you blew that game. The next year, everybody got hurt in MetLife. Remember that? And you
Of
couldn't
course I do. I'm praying for the World Cup. I'm praying for whoever makes it.
even
Personally, I would just like tank in the semifinal of the World Cup. I would get there and be like, well, I don't want my ACL to just blow up, so I
yeah.
think we're good. I'll wait another
And
4 years.
the next year you start, I think 3-5, then you go on a run to end the regular season, sneak into the playoffs, beat Dallas, beat Green Bay, have a 17-7 lead in the fourth quarter of the NFC
Wow.
title game, and then you lose it. Jaquiski's heart drops that pass. Stafford and Cup do fourth quarter magic. And again, there's another collapse at Shanahan's feet, and this time it's to his coaching rival. And the Rams win the Super Bowl. And then the following year, like Trey Lance, he gets hurt. Garoppolo comes in. You
I
make
was
them.
actually at that game. I was at that game, by the way,
I know.
where
I
Trey Lance
remember
got injured.
against the Seahawks.
I
Like
I, would,
you
I just
make them.
want to say they were chanting Jimmy's name as soon as Trey Lance got hurt. They got put him on the cart. They're all Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. That's just in retrospect
That's
how
a
much
very
Niner
weird
fans like
moment to
Trey.
look back on now,
I,
considering I think both of them are now. I think honestly, Trey has a higher approval rating among Niner fans than Jimmy at this point.
that is
But
true. That is 100% true. I think Trey Lance likes the Niners more than Jimmy G does, which is crazy to say.
well, I think Niner fans like him more than they like
Oh,
Jimmy.
yeah, no. I mean, Trey Lance was never did anything like mean or like was never like ungrateful for anything. Like I didn't like dislike Trey Lance because he was like a dick or like he didn't try hard enough. I just thought he wasn't good enough, and
I
I
don't think
hated
you
that the Niners
dislike
got
him.
some
I just think you don't think he could adequately help your football team succeed.
Yes, I cared so much about the players that we had already on the team that someone could like blow it up, and I thought Trey Lance was gonna destroy everything.
But yeah,
That
you guys made the McCaffrey trade. You go on the run at the end of the year with Purdy. He comes in after Garoppolo gets hurt. And then that NFC Championship game is just like it's over immediately because you
I
get
know.
and it's just like the next 50 minutes. What's the point of even watching this
I
game?
think I
And
think the
then
Philadelphia game was the hardest to watch out of all these, other than the Super Bowl originally. Actually, probably I think well, like if you talk about from first quarter to fourth quarter, the hardest to watch was the Philadelphia game because it felt like we would
because
probably
at least in the other two, you could say even though it sucked and it was heartbreaking, you can say we just lost because we just didn't play as well at the
and
end.
we'll be back even. We'll be back. Like the 2021, we're like, okay, we went on a roll. We're gonna get some free agents next year. We'll be back. In 2019, they started with the second seed or the second overall pick. Then they made a Super Bowl. So it's like, okay, give it a couple more years. We'll be back and we'll win it. But in 2022, it was like we have contracts coming up.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on with Jimmy G.
Yep.
Brock Purdy might not even be good. We have no idea still.
Well, they wanted
Trey
Brady.
Lance is probably not good either. And it just felt like it was just over. It honestly felt like it was over. Like whatever run we went on, it's just never gonna. It's just over.
And then you come into this year,
Hargrave signing was
12 and
awesome.
5, huge favorites to go to the Super Bowl entering the playoffs, almost lose it immediately against the Packers, like that game.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And then against Detroit, it did look over at halftime. Like the Lions were just pushing you guys all over the field,
Oh
almost.
jeez, yes,
But
yeah.
you came back, and to me, I don't know if you feel that, but to me, the fact that the 49ers beat the Packers in a close back and forth game, and then they came back from a huge deficit against the Lions, I think that helps them entering the Super Bowl. I think that gives them more confidence no matter what they're faced with, whether it's a close game that they're kind of going back and forth with, like that Green Bay game was, or if they're down by multiple scores in the second half. Like I think they aren't going to be phased by anything anymore.
No, I agree. I think that was the biggest conference championship comeback, right?
Well,
Um,
since 2012.
oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, Ultra. That's fucked up.
I think it was I think both of them were 24/7 actually, but yeah.
I think they were both 24-7. That's messed up. um, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the Niners. So in 2019, when we went on that run, there was really no adversity, really any of the way. I mean, we beat the
Right.
Vikings by a blowout. We beat the Packers with a blowout. We had a bye week, and before that, the hardest game we had was in Baltimore, which was like week 12, I think.
You
It
played a
was
lot of close games at the end of the regular season.
actually week 17 against the Seahawks was a pretty big battle. But point is that I think the Niner team and the Niners felt like no one can stop us at this point and they didn't have like a reality check that if it gets down, like what are we going to do, right? And they didn't know how to respond in that way. I don't think. Uh, it was a young team too. All the players that you see now in the core, they were young. Fred Warner was
Hill,
young. He was on his first
Juszczyk,
contract.
Warner, Bosa,
Kittle was on his first contract. Joe Staley was still on the team. I
Bosa
mean,
was a rookie.
Bosa was a rookie. All these players are super. I think this team has just been through a bunch. And like you said, going through those where you just feel like nothing's going your way and having the ability to just turn it on right when you needed it is just something that veteran football teams that know how to win do. And it's hard to do that. And I 100% agree. I think I would be less confident if they did blow out the Lions and the Packers. Because I would have felt like, well, we were supposed to beat the Lions and both the Packers. I don't know if we're supposed to
Because
beat the
you
team.
would have almost felt like you hadn't learned anything about the team, right?
Exactly. I'm like, well, okay, we lost to Baltimore, and we went the one time we went through adversity all year. Every single time we went through adversity, we lost. Really, if you think about it, 3 losses we had were the only games where we went through any kind of real adversity through the third quarter, and we lost. So it really wouldn't have given me confidence to go against the Chiefs again, the team that had beaten us already. Which I'm gonna get into how I feel about all that, but yeah.
Yeah, let's go there right now, actually.
Oh, okay, let's do it.
So obviously, I think winning a Super Bowl would be cathartic for Niner fans for all sorts of reasons. 29 years, all the heartbreak in recent years,
Yeah.
even going back further than that with the Harbaugh teams and things like that. But um, how much more cathartic do you think it'll be? Or potentially, how much more heartbreaking do you think it could be? Because Kansas City's the team on the other side, and
Yeah.
they were the team that set you on that path of heartbreak back here, and you
Yeah.
could potentially get over it, or you could potentially be brokenhearted even more. It's kind of like as a Georgia fan, it's like Georgia and Alabama playing in the national championship a couple years ago when Georgia finally beat them after all of the times Alabama had beaten them before. Obviously, the Chiefs and Niners haven't played as much, but it does kind of feel like that. It almost is was written, and it's almost like as it should be that the Niners, if they are going to break through, the Chiefs are the team they're going to have to beat to do it.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of it there, but really, I feel like if we lose this game, and I felt like this way against the Eagles, but and I was wrong, obviously, because they're
Yeah.
here. But I don't know how
I
this
feel
team
like
is
it's
gonna.
almost if not now when,
I
right?
don't know how this team is gonna recover, if you know what I mean. like, okay, so like the emotional roller coaster from this core, like think about it. Like they go to the Super Bowl the one year they like get good, boom, heartbreaking loss. Okay, let's pick it up next year. We went through this already, but season's over, heartbreaking way. Season's over, heartbreaking way. Season's over, heartbreaking way. And then we get to it, and it's like this all year. It's been like, this is our year. This is the year. This is the year we're going to do it. We did all the things that we were supposed to, all the things that as the fans we enjoy to see, and it's just like, and then if you get all the way to the end again, and then you lose to the same freaking guy, the same two guys, Andy Reid and Mahomes. It's like, are we? I think it'll just
What
be
more
like,
can we do, right?
I don't think we're ever gonna. It'll be like that. It'll feel like I don't. I think the locker room will lose confidence. I truly believe that. I don't. I
No,
think
I
it's,
agree with you, and that's why I think the 49ers, and you may disagree, but I think they're the much more under pressure team.
oh
And
no. I completely agree. I 100% agree. The Niners are under all the pressure in the world right now. I feel like
because I feel like the Chiefs, obviously, the Chiefs have made at least the AFC Championship game every year with Mahomes, and I feel like
if
this
the Chiefs
Chiefs
lose this
game,
game, it
the fact
won't do anything. They'll still be in conversations every year of
like
winning the
they'll
Super
probably
Bowl.
open as the favorites next year for the Super Bowl
Probably, they
because
probably will.
they're a very young team outside of Kelsey. Like they should be better in a lot of ways next year, especially offensively. But the 49ers, it's like, okay, you guys even have the quarterback now, we think. You made this McCaffrey trade. You added Chase Young, like you got Trent Williams now, like you made all these changes since 2019. Even Kyle's offense has changed where he's now incorporated more less play action, less like outside zone, more just straight up power running, more drop back passing. And it's like if you guys just lose again to the same team, I can see how that's extremely frustrating and heartbreaking. And
I
it's just
think
like, what more can we do?
I think it's similar to the Bills in the 90s. It's like
Or
we
even the
go to the
Bills
Super
right now.
Bowl, we lose, and it's like, well, okay, we can do it. We weren't. I think the Bills weren't even expected to be in the Super Bowl the first year they did it, and it was seen as like okay, they'll get back and they'll figure it out. Then they get again, then they lose, and then they lose to Dallas twice. They lost to Dallas like on the third and the fourth time. It was like, well, it's it's like what do I mean? Like it just never felt like as close as it actually was, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously the Bills go on a pretty big tumble up until like 2000, but
Well, really until like 2019, 2020.
well, they had that one season where the Music City Miracle.
Yeah, but
But yeah, generally ever since
in
that,
terms of
it's been just
consistently being
heartbreak.
a good team,
And I really do feel like if we lose this game, and I hate to say it, and I know I'm focusing on like, what if we win? No, I can't. I can't think about that. It's been honestly, Ultra. It's been like that all year. It's been like, okay, I'm glad we're winning a
yeah.
lot, but that's not only the standard, but it would be a disappointment if we lost in the NFC Championship game, and it would be
No,
a
I
major
understand
disappointment.
that. Like, it's like I know how it feels to be a fan of a team that's like on the cusp of something that just hasn't achieved it, and then but when you finally achieve it, you feel like you've completed. You feel like you've arrived. It's all accumulated into that, right? And so I feel and I also think this era's 49ers team. I do think this is a very important game for their legacy because I feel like if they lose,
We will be forgotten.
we'll just remember this era as the Chiefs era. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
is the Chiefs. This is the era the Chiefs ran a rough shot over the NFL. No one came close. Whereas if they win, it's then 2 Super Bowls to 1. Both teams have made several championship games. You can kind of say, okay, it was the Chiefs were the best team of the era, but the 49ers were like one, the clear second team, and two, like they were almost clear close to being the Chiefs equals in this era. Like it will be remembered for both teams rather than just the Chiefs.
I've said on record that the Niners are incredibly similar to the Andy Reid Eagles, and my biggest fear for the Niners
And the Chiefs are the
was that
Patriots.
um, what was that?
And the Chiefs are the early aughts Patriots.
I haven't said that, but that would be the comparison. The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls in that time, like about when the Eagles were going to NFC Championship games, and you don't hear anybody talking about the Eagles, how good they were, because they were really freaking good. They
Yeah,
made like I think 4 NFC
4
Championship
straight
games, maybe
NFC
5.
title games,
I think they made 5,
and then they
and they
made
made a
another
Super
one in
Bowl.
'08. Yeah,
Having a team that can even do like 2 NFC Championship games is an all-time team, like a core that can do that. They did it 5 times, and they didn't win the big one. And Andy Reid, before he went to Kansas City, was seen as the biggest choker in NFL history, other than no, yeah, at the time he was the biggest choker in NFL history, I
as a
believe.
head coach, yeah.
Yeah, as a head coach. And and Donovan McNabb and that whole Eagles team, no, it's all forgotten. It's all forgotten. Brian Dawkins is really the only guy that we sit back and be like, that guy was amazing. Not the Eagles, Brian Dawkins, and I
Even though they
honestly
had a lot
like
of other great
LaShawn
players.
McCoy is talked about. Think about it, if LaShawn McCoy makes a ring, he's probably headed to the Hall of Fame.
Well, I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
if McCoy was on those teams, but
Was he not? Oh, he's
no,
later. My bad.
but
Anyway, you know
yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're trying to say. We don't
This will
remember
either
that team.
be the Niners' moment of this is for everything. Like this will be the thing that we're remembered for, or it'll be the thing that they're remembered for all the wrong reasons. And as a Niner fan, I'm gonna have to live through that because they did the same thing in 2012, 2011, and 2013. They had an amazing run, or 2010. I mean, 2011, 2010. They had an amazing run through that. No one cares. You didn't win it, so who cares? So I mean, it just feels absolutely. It's the pressure's on, man. I'm excited. I'm extremely
Are you
if
more excited or more nervous, do you think, or about the same?
I'm honestly like 50-50. I honestly don't feel that excited, but I'm not that nervous. But if I think about either for too long, I get like either one, you know? If I think about Brock Purdy holding up a Lombardi, I'm like, oh my God, we got a day till that might happen. Oh, and then if I think about how this could affect everyone's legacies and how Shanahan might be out the door in a couple years, I'm like,
Jeez.
well, that's what happened with the Eagles,
Well,
man.
we can
That's
get
just
to let's get to Kyle Shanahan then. Like, this guy, I think everybody thinks like he's one of the 3 or 4 best. Like, I think he's one of the 3 best coaches in the NFL. And I think regardless of what happens tomorrow night,
he
I will
still
still
is.
believe that.
He still is.
But I
Unless
also
he just absolutely blows it.
and I have absolutely nothing but undying respect for his ability as a schemer, his ability as a play caller, how he's consistently called proficient and a productive offenses with subpar to just good quarterback play. He's never had, a Mahomes, an Allen, a Burrow, or a Lamar level quarterback with the 49ers. And he's consistently gone deep in the playoffs, and he's been able to win divisions and win a lot of games, win playoff games, and get to this stage consistently. But when we think of Kyle Shanahan past all those great things, most
Joking.
people think of 3
Joking.
games, particularly 2 games. One, when he was the offensive coordinator of my Falcons. One, when he was the head coach of the 49ers 4 years ago in Miami against the Chiefs. And then some people will also think of the game against the Rams 2 years ago.
People like okay, just one thing. Just like the people who talk about the Eagles game, like that's another choking
I don't
thing.
think people actually
That's
think.
it's dumb. Eagles fans really are the only one who say it, but
Yeah,
I hate Eagles.
everyone. I think everyone understands the situation that happened in that game, but
Well, they say that Shanahan, if he was a better offensive coordinator, wouldn't have blocked Hassan Reddick with a tight end, even though every single coordinator does that. It's
like,
just kind of
the sack is okay, but, like, to expect someone to tear your UCL off of the
yeah,
sack is like,
exactly.
it's a
It
freak
was some
injury,
of the
man.
most like revisionist history kind of like talk about a play call.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's but people do think of those other games when they think of Kyle
Yeah,
Shanahan,
yeah.
and I feel like he is probably the most under pressure person in the Super Bowl because I feel like with a win, most people will just quiet about those other
He will
collapses and
be
just
he will be a Hall of Famer if he wins this.
yeah, I
He's
think
gonna
I
be a
agree
head
with
coach
that,
for at least 5 more years in San Francisco, even
and
if we suck. If we suck, he'll be the
Well,
head coach of this team.
if you make 2 Super Bowls and you win 1, That's pretty like that's kind of a Hall of Fame resume there,
He's
right?
been the coach of two of the most impressive offenses of the 21st century, in Atlanta, and as a head coach for the Niners. And people will always remember how good of a coordinator he was. And there
And
won't be a question of the choking. That just won't be talked about.
and
Like
the
Andy
thing
Reid,
is, I
it's
would
not
say
talked about anymore.
I would say he's the defining coach of this era from, like, just an influence per I
I
think Sean
100%
McVay
agree.
is probably the most influential from, like, his assistants have been hired the most to be higher positions, like, the McVay tree is kind of ridiculous with how many coaches he gets
Oh
poached
yeah,
from every year, but from, like, just a who copies who the most, Shanahan's offense has been copied by so many different
I
people,
know.
and he's
People
still
don't
the
even.
best at it. He was
It's
the
not
best at
even.
it 7 years ago, he's the best at it 4 years ago, he still is.
It's not even like um. Okay, this is a heavy motion offense. No, no, it's just a Shanahan offense.
Yeah. But if he loses this game, that
Um,
narrative of him not being able to win the big one and him not being able to get over and him just collapsing at the final hurdle, that is only gonna grow from what it is now. And so I
oh,
feel like this is a Kyle Shanahan legacy.
100%. I have nothing to add. It's just 100%. If he loses, he has everything to win and he has everything to lose. And if he loses again, I think we think about Shanahan as Dan Reeves almost, someone who really was really good, but never won the big one. He went to like four Super Bowls, I think. One with the Falcons and maybe not four, maybe three,
Once,
but he went to.
I think he went did he go to 3 with Denver and then 1 with the Falcons?
I think Elway went to five Super Bowls, right?
Yeah, but the last 2 were with
Yeah,
Kyle's
yeah. I think he went to three, I believe. But anyway, that's like one of
to
those.
yeah, he went to 4.
Dan Reeves.
86, 87, 89
Dan
with Denver,
Reeves
98
was a
with them.
great coach, but because he lost to Elway in the Super Bowl with the Falcons, and because he lost with Elway, he's a choker. He just wasn't good enough for those teams. That is the common thought. That is exactly how people will think of Shanahan at the end of the day. They will think this was a great team. He put together a great team, but he wasn't the right coach for this team to win it all. And I disagree. I just do. I
I
just
think
think
it's just kinda I think it's a little unfair because if you look at some of the like Garoppolo versus Mahomes, Garoppolo versus Stafford, it's
100%. The quarterback stuff is so like it's. I haven't even brought up the quarterback stuff all time. This whole thing because I, as a Niner fan, I am so conditioned to having like mediocre quarterback play or having not elite quarterback play. So just having Brock Purdy, a guy that can just be at least good, is like the best thing ever.
yeah.
And that's why Niner fans talk about so highly of him because it's so shocking to Niner
They've been
fans.
stuck with Jimmy in the end of Kaepernick and Brian
Yeah, the
Hoyer.
end of Kaepernick, Brian Hoyer was our quarterback, CJ Beathard for like half a season, Nick Mullins,
Jeff
Trey
Garcia was the last
Lance.
guy that gave you, like, 3 years of high-level quarterback play in a row. So,
Yeah.
but the how do we feel how do you feel about the game and the matchup? Because I really feel like it'll be determined on early downs, and I think it'll be determined by I think Shanahan will and should let McCaffrey be
Let
the
him cook.
main cog in the offense against a weak Chiefs run defense.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How do you
I
feel
think
about the
the
game in general in the matchup?
I think the Niners' number one game plan is to whether that's Debo, CMC, even Elijah Mitchell, maybe if you want to run some outside zone, just every like maybe a couple snaps, just get him on the outside. Juice, of course, juice, juice. I love saying that. I don't know at Niner games if he gets the ball ever, it's just juice from the stands. It's great. Um, but yeah, I really believe running the ball and just committing. And I know Kyle Shannon has been criticized quite a few times for not sticking to the run, but it's not as troubling to think about it anymore because it feels like even if they do get away from the run, Purdy in this passing game can do enough to where it's not going to cripple us like it has in the past. And I truly believe like that. Like I feel like if they like whenever it felt like they got away with the run with Jimmy, it was like, oh, it's over. They were asking him to pass. He's going to throw an interception. He's going to get sacked. He's going to do
Well, that's literally what happened against the Chiefs of the Rams, too.
Literally what happened against the Chiefs and the Rams. Literally what happened. Even the Packers game, you could argue he did that. We just won because our special teams got that kick.
Are you talking about the 21 Packer game?
Yeah. I mean, we've only scored like 3 offensive points, I think.
The Niners didn't score an offensive touchdown, and they still
won. But yeah, I on offense, that's at least how I feel. I really believe the Chiefs defense is really good, though. I mean, they're very talented. Their secondary is very underrated. But I've always liked L'Jarius Sneed. He did a really good job against Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. And
corner that
what was that?
They have another All-Pro corner that.
Oh yeah, Trent McDuffie. I've liked that guy since day one. By the way, I've always liked. Trent McDuffie.
Of course,
I've always liked Trent McDuffie. It's true. The logs say so. I've always said Trent McDuffie was good. I always liked Trent McDuffie. Anyway, I just liked his name, honestly, for the most part. But yeah, no, their secondary is legit. But I think with the weapons we have and the quarterback we have, it won't be as big of a deal even if we get away from the run. But on defense, I am deathly afraid of that potential run game from the Chiefs because that run defense, Aaron Jones looked like Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith combined in that one game in Green Bay. And so did Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery when they came out with those 6 lineman fronts. So I think, honestly, for both teams, the key is to run the ball. And I feel like even if they don't run the ball, both teams are equipped with their quarterback to be okay. You know what I mean?
What do you think of Pacheco?
I think he's awesome. I really like Pacheco. I mean, he has a great story. I think he has like 10 siblings, if I'm right. Something like that. He has a bunch of siblings. And he came from a really poor household. And he was like a 7th round pick or undrafted free agent. No, he's a 7th round pick. And he's already won a Super Bowl, and he's one of the most popular running backs in the NFL and one of the best. I think he's like, so as a pass catching back, obviously he's not that kind of running back. You're putting Jerick McKinnon out there if you really want.
Well, they use McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire more as that than him, but
yeah. But I think as a power rusher, he's one of the best in the NFL. I think if you just want like inside zone, he got that. Outside zone, he's pretty good at that. But I like Pacheco. There's no reason for me not to like Pacheco. He's a cool guy.
But more like, do you fear him as a Niner fan? Like,
no, I don't necessarily fear him. I fear the run game in general. I don't think if Pacheco is in the game, whether or not, I fear the O-line, if you know what I mean. Because they have a really good O-line, the Chiefs. And we don't talk about that enough as sports media or whatever.
They are without Joe Thuney.
That is true. And I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up. Joe Thuney wasn't the best player on this offensive line. And I don't even think he was really top 2 this year.
Humphrey and Trey Smith are all.
Humphrey and Trey Smith are clearly the 1 and 2. And Thuney,
I think you can argue Thuney's better than Trey Smith.
Potentially.
Humphrey's,
I think Thuney. But anyway, it's going to help a lot that they don't have that guy in. And I think their tackles are really susceptible to both Bosa and I hope Chase Young.
I knew it.
Yeah.
You know what? I hope Chase Young actually puts in effort.
Me too, Ultra. I want to win a Super Bowl too.
If you can't show effort in the NFC Championship game, why are you playing football? Why are you out there?
Now he's been saying stuff like Ohio State is where I went to school, so what I've been doing in Washington isn't acceptable. Maybe there's a reason why Washington has been terrible.
Also,
maybe.
You know where Nick Bosa went to school?
Yes, Ohio
State. And he's putting in an effort.
Bosa got so disrespected this year, by the way. You guys were disrespecting Bosa so much.
Well, okay. Mitch was I was joking about it, but
you were piggybacking with
I did. But I also said Bosa's still causing pressure. He's still having a good year. I just don't think he's been as dominant as last year. He hasn't been at that level. But I feel like he's been at that level, especially in the NFC Championship game. He's been back at that level in the playoffs. I've been more disappointed. Like the defensive line, I feel like it's been the other guys more that have been disappointing. Like Hargrave, I think has had a solid season, but
right.
I
I thought
don't
he was going to be better.
Is Hargrave when I'm watching the 49ers for
I
whatever.
thought Hargrave was going to be better. He had a really good start of the year, but by the end, he's kind of tailored off. I think his spouts so he's just an undersized guy as a D lineman, and I think in the run game it's been really showing. And that's why.
Armstead is a player that you in the past criticized. Came off of it a little. He's been hurt this year and out of the lineup, but I feel like his impact at times has been a little bit less than you could be desired. And Chase Young, like they just haven't been able to find a partner for Bosa.
Honestly, Cleveland Farrell was like doing pretty good compared to Chase Young because Cleveland Farrell wasn't a great pass rusher.
When a player leaves the Raiders, right?
Yeah, Cleveland Farrell was the 4th overall pick for the Raiders, and he was like a 3rd round pick. We drafted 4th overall. So I'm very familiar with Cleveland Farrell. I didn't actually hate Cleveland Farrell because it wasn't his fault that he got drafted so high. Anyway, he was a decent run defender, and that was enough. Because when you watch the Niners, if a there's been like 5 or 3 times I've been able to watch in the playoffs where Chase Young just gets like destroyed by like a block by a receiver where they just run up and just go, and he gets pancaked. It's absolutely disgusting. And Cleveland Farrell would never do that on outside zone. And he's out for the year. Oh, Charles Omenihu, I forgot to mention him. I think him being out is huge. I think it's huge.
He was also a former Niner, right? It was there.
Yes, Charles Omenihu was really good. I really like Charles Omenihu.
Yeah, I did too.
The Niners have had a lot of really good, like solid edge players that have gone on to other teams and been really good. Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson's on our team. I get them mixed up sometimes.
I feel like
Arden Key.
Part of it is Steve Wilks has kind of shifted. Like I feel like Robert Saleh and especially D'Amico Ryans emphasized like stopping the run, playing fundamental football. I feel like Wilks has tried to go back and try to be more of a strong pass defense. And I feel like for the most part, you guys have actually been strong in pass defense, but I feel like the run defense and pass rush has taken a hit. And I feel like Wilks's answer to everything is like just pass rush win for us every down, please. Well, like, how do you feel about how he's done it? And like, are you worried that against Andy Reid, he may be a little bit over his head? Because we saw what Andy Reid did to the Eagles last year with just all the guys running wide open.
I feel like Wilks is better than Jonathan Gannon. I think that's true. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel the way.
Coaching job.
That doesn't mean I don't feel the way that you're describing. Steve Wilks has been fine. I really think as a Niner fan, I've been spoiled by defensive coordinator play. Because honestly, the only time I've complained about D'Amico Ryans or a defensive coordinator
first half of the 21 year.
It was D'Amico Ryans in 2021, his first year. For like half the season, maybe I was like a little mad about him, but since we've just had amazing coordinators, and Wilks is just okay. I think he's just okay. I think he's a good. I think the guys really love Wilks, but generally as a schemer and like his scheme in general is just not as good, and I think that's fine considering how good our offense is and how much talent we have. But yeah, that is 100% a concern for me because we're playing the guys that put up 31 on us against with a team that was like the best defense of the 2020s probably, other than maybe like the Bucks or the Ravens this year. What do you think about that? Specifically that point? I don't know. 2019 Niners.
But the 49ers 22 defense was the second best.
No, not 22. 2019.
Oh, 2019. Well, that wouldn't technically be the 2020s, right?
I think it's right. Okay.
You guys, I think this Ravens defense this year was awesome, but sure. I think it's either you guys or them and I would throw the 19.
Let's just say since 2019, I think they were either the Ravens.
I would say you guys, the 19 Patriots, I think were an awesome defense.
They were very good too.
year would probably be the 3 best.
Anyway, the point I was just trying to make was that even with the 2019 Niners defense, we let off 31 points against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And now we have Steve Wilkes, and a defense that has, quite frankly, underperformed. The weird thing about the Niners defense, and you might see this tomorrow, is they play bad, but the scoreboard isn't that bad. If you watch the Niners-Lions game,
they were 3rd in scoring defense this year, but it felt way worse than. But
if you watch Niner games, for whatever reason, they will play garbage and it'll be like 20 points.
And I think, honestly, and this is just me seeing Niners related tweets and stuff, I think Niner fans know that their defense isn't what it used to be more than the rest of the NFL community has.
No, that's true too. Steve Wilkes was getting destroyed when we went on that,
especially during that 3, yeah.
And it's really funny to me because, and I agree. There should have been criticism for him, but we weren't even giving up that many points. Honestly, it was 20, 24, and 20. I think really those games. I think the Niners defense is very splash play oriented. So you'll see we've had the most interceptions we've had as a defense in this era, I think, as the Shanahan era. And we've had a bunch of big 4th down stops and a bunch of maybe not sacks.
It was against the Lions, right? The 4th down stops.
Exactly.
And I guess
look at the Packers game too. We had 2 interceptions with Dre Greenlaw. And that's the reason the score didn't represent how bad it was.
Had the 4th and short stop that really wasn't a stop because the refs fucked that up. But yeah.
I was I was a Niner fan. I'm
I'm glad I'm rooting for the team that got the call.
But are you worried about the Andy Reid Wilkes matchups?
No, 100%. No, that's 100%. What's it called? A concern for me. But like I said, I think the Niners defense had those moments where they played bad, but for whatever reason, we just get the play when it needs to happen, if you know what I mean. It's weird. They'll play.
Well,
they
that happened against the Packers. For the first 3 quarters, you guys were getting shredded, and then they did play a lot better in that 4th quarter. They started to apply more pressure on Love, and they got the key end of the inner.
The Lions didn't score a single point in the second half.
Well, they scored 1 touchdown at the end.
Oh yeah, on that one drive, but they were playing prevent.
Game. I watched that game back. One of the drives was the 4th down stop that he just dropped. One of them was the fumble, which is a good play by the Niners, but still. One of them was a 3 and out in which Josh Reynolds dropped a wide open 3rd and 10 conversion. So I can't really call that great defense. And then another one was the other 4th down stop, which was well played by the 49ers. That was probably their best defensive stop, in my opinion. But I do feel the 7, there's your point, right? They probably didn't play well enough to even give up just 1 touchdown in that second half, but they still did. They still made it.
Yeah, exactly. They just, it's they don't, it's if you watch the film, you're how did, they must have scored 40 points, but then they only scored 24 points. So it's or
how much they score in that game? 31?
Detroit scored 31, Green Bay 21.
But honestly, in that 31-point game, that last drive was garbage time. Not garbage time, but they were playing prevent the whole time. It wasn't the defense gave up a bad play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But still, you know what I mean.
How do you feel about the Super Bowl being in Vegas, and what do you think about all of the stuff that's been coming out of the Niners camp for the last 2 weeks about the stadium and the fire alarm and everything?
Honestly, when bad things happen to your team, and it's feels excuses potentially if they lose.
Yeah.
You start feeling well, is that why they're going to lose? Not necessarily that, but you kind of get, I've started to feel a little bit more pressure lately because it feels if we lose this game, it'll be
it was rigged against us. And because the Chiefs don't have any excuses lined up if they lose. The Eagles have had excuses when they lost the Super Bowl, it's well,
the turf
what happened with the turf, what happened with the field and all that, and
the refs
call.
Yeah,
and if the Niners lose, it feels the UNLV practice field.
And the Niners were doing that a little bit last week with the Super Bowl 54, with the holding and
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I don't think it's really like it's more like as a fan, you kind of feel like something could be something because of that. But I think for the Niners, it doesn't really mean anything.
I don't think it matters very much for actually how the game's gonna play out or anything like that. I just think it's dumb. The fire alarm thing may have just been like an error or something. I don't know. That can happen sometimes.
No, Andy Reid came in, he's all bing.
Yeah. But the field thing, it's just like the NFLPA came out and said like, yeah, the field's really not playable. It's really not like up to regular NFL standards. But like, I don't know why this isn't like, why are we talking about the 49ers practice field and we're not talking about how George Kittle matches up with the Chiefs linebackers or how Isaiah Pacheco's running style matches up with how the 49ers play run defense or how Travis Kelce versus Fred Warner is one of the best matchups in the entire game. Like, it frustrates me that that's getting put in the background because of a stupid practice field story that should have never been a story. Because
I
but the
think
NFL,
it's also
yeah.
kind of annoying because people are trying to make the Niners the villain out of this whole thing.
But they're
Like,
not. It's the
I know it's like, are they not allowed to complain about a bad practice field like in the biggest game of their lives?
Yeah.
Like, people are trying to make out the Niners to be like this unlikable team, and
Well,
you know,
everyone,
you
yeah.
can feel like whatever way you want about it. But really, I think the only thing like unlikable about this team is really just that we beat the Lions and a feel-good story. And like the Packers were also kind of a feel-good story. Like, I don't really like as a fan, really, I maybe like Trent Williams and Debo kind of like talk a little bit. I mean,
Trent Williams doesn't talk. He just
he throws
has
people.
dirty plays when he's frustrated because the game's not going how he wants to, which is a dumb move on his
Every
part.
every team has a player
Really
that does
hateable, I guess. And I mean, like, I don't know. I'm a Falcons fan. Okay, Christian McCaffrey was a Panther. I love Christian McCaffrey. I could watch that
CMC's
guy
awesome.
run for days. I
I love
love
CMC, man.
like George Kittle is awesome. Like, I love a lot of the Niner players. And Brock Purdy's story, we already went into it. I don't see, other than the Brock Purdy thing, I don't know how, unless you're like, if you're a Seahawks fan or a Rams fan, I can get
I
why.
completely understand if you're a Seahawks fan or like an Eagles
Dallas
fan or a
fan.
Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I can understand if you're salty because they beat your team, but if you just generally don't like them, I don't like, and I don't get that for the Chiefs either. I don't know if you feel that way, but it feels like in 2019, this was like a feel-good story. The Patriots are finally gone. We don't have to talk about them in a Super Bowl. It's Chiefs versus 49ers. It's these two new up-and-coming young teams. And now fast forward 4 years later, oh, this is the matchup no one wanted.
Oh, no one wanted to. Yeah, I mean, what I feel about the Chiefs is they beat my favorite team in the Super Bowl in one of the most heartbreaking ways that they could have won it. So that's why I don't like the Chiefs. Like, I have I don't think the Chiefs are like annoying, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think like
I thought what Mahomes did with that Kadarius Toney thing was
that was
good.
dumb.
I thought that was
That's
lame.
literally like the one unlikable thing he's done in the last.
No, I know. That is like the one only thing. He was cool on Netflix. I really like on the Netflix show, The Quarterback. I thought he was pretty cool just to see him.
What do you think of the Taylor Swift thing?
I think it's dumb that people care so much. You know what I don't like? I don't like that people talk about how people don't like it. Like, I don't like that. Like, okay, so I was watching today just some reporters talk about the game or whatever, just on the TV. I was kind of bored. Just throw it on. And they're just instead of talking about football, like, oh, Kittle's doing this, like he's talking about why are people so mad at Taylor Swift? And I'm like, maybe because you're talking about people getting mad at Taylor Swift. I don't care about.
It's a big talking point. Like, yeah, she's a famous singer who's dating the best tight end in the world and one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. And it's like, yeah, she's going to games to support him and she's on air for like 25 to 30 seconds per game.
I don't even care about that part. I think it's funny.
I just don't know why it's such a big story. It's not that weird. Like,
the only thing, like I said, the only thing I care about is that people are talking about Taylor Swift when I want to hear them talk about the Niners and how good they are. That is the only thing I want to hear about. As a football fan, as a team in the Super Bowl, I want to hear, did you think about this thing you didn't think about, Lenny? Did you see this thing coming that maybe I have to show you? And it's like, no, like, I have to listen to people like protecting Taylor Swift's legacy like she doesn't have $1 billion. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think of so how has it been? Because like another thing you didn't mention about those games, you mentioned like obviously the quarterbacks and like just how you feel better about this team in passing, but the running backs, and with no disrespect to Raheem Mostert or Tevin Coleman or Elijah Mitchell,
Oh, but disrespect to Kevin Coleman.
Just won the Offensive Player of the Year award 2 days ago. Congrats to him for the second time. Like that guy, I feel like ever since you guys traded for him, the 49ers offensive have become like an offensive team almost. And I feel like he's a huge part of that. I feel like he came in, was instantly reinvigorated with Shanahan. And I feel like since then he's been the best player on the team. Him and Trent Williams. So like how has it been as a Niner fan just to watch a running back of that high of a caliber? Like I feel like it almost is like
it's a luxury.
Was it almost like you thought the guys that you were watching before were pretty good, and then you watch this guy, and it's just like,
it's like, damn.
What were your thoughts on the McCaffrey trade, by the way?
When it first happened, my first thoughts were, I hope he doesn't get injured because this was when the Niners were still considered an injury-prone team. And that was really my first thought. And my second thought was, well, how much better is he than Elijah Mitchell? Because I didn't really know. Honestly, like legitimately.
Years he'd been injured, right?
Yeah, he hadn't played for a while. I don't think he played in 2021 quite a little, like a lot.
Well, he had played, but like he hadn't played consistently for a while.
Yeah, and it just felt like, well, I really hope he doesn't get injured because, blah blah blah. But I was honestly a little shaky on it. I didn't know. I just didn't know. I wasn't negative on it because I didn't feel like we gave up a lot, and I wasn't like, oh my gosh, we got CMC. It was kind of like, let's see what happens, And then he just blew everyone's expectations out of the water. He just was like, boom. I mean, it's honestly incredible watching him play because like he'll turn a play that isn't meant to like do anything and turn it into at least like a 3-yard gain.
He'll turn a 2-yard loss into a 4-yard gain. He does that
Yeah,
better.
he's just so aggressive. Like people talk about Pacheco, like pounding his feet. If you watch CMC, like he does kind of a similar thing. Like he runs hard. And he's not big. Like he's not a big guy. He's small. He's like, I think 5'10", maybe. He's a little short, and it's just he just runs with this ferociousness. And one thing I love about CMC, people don't talk about, is if he has like a breakaway run and he's like one tackle away from like breaking to the house, he'll like slam his hand into the ground. He's like, boom. And he won't look happy. He won't like flex or like he won't do anything. He's like thinking in his brain, he's like, I could have broke that one. And then he gets back in the huddle and he's like, I'm gonna do it this time. It's honestly incredible. Like he just feels as a fan, you want your players to feel like every play they're giving it their all. And there's a handful of guys in the league that do that, and there's a handful of guys on this Niner team that do that too. And you really feel that as a fan. You're like, you never feel bad about CMC. You never get mad at CMC. I've never been mad at CMC. Like legitimately, I've never been like, why would you do that? I was mad at Kittle. Like when he got injured a bunch, I was mad at him, like just as a fan, because it's like, damn, dude, stay on the field, And that's crazy to say because it's George Kittle and he's like the face of our team, really. But yeah, I've never been mad at CMC as a fan, and I don't think any Niner fan has. And it's been a pleasure, really. And I loved Mostert, especially what he did for the Packers in the Packers game. I loved Elijah Mitchell still, but damn, it just feels so good to have a player so talented. It's eye candy.
Yeah, sorry I misspoke. This was his first Offensive Player of the Year award. I thought he won it in 2019. Forgot it was Lamar.
Wasn't he an MVP race in 2019?
I think it was it Lamar who won it, or was it Michael Thomas? I'm forgetting.
Yeah, Michael Thomas.
It was Michael Thomas, then Lamar, then McCaffrey. But yeah, I'll ask you this one thing, and then we can get to the final like prediction, what we think is going to happen. I feel like obviously you guys made the Trey Lance trade, 3 first-round picks. The fact that the 49ers made that trade,
and they're fine.
completely wasted it. Trey Lance isn't even on the team anymore, and they're still here. Like this, let's just understand. Like, I don't think people understand this. Like, the 49ers should not be here because of
Oh,
that trade.
for sure.
That should have costed them the next 3 to 4 years of their window. But it totally didn't work out, the Trey Lance draft pick. Regardless of what you think of the player, it did not work out with the 49ers. And because of Brock Purdy and the fact that they stole him in the final pick of the draft, and he ended up being the game-changing quarterback with some of those qualities that Shanahan wanted from Lance, they're back in the Super Bowl. I don't think people appreciate that enough about Brock Purdy. Like, he kind of saved the Niners.
No, that's 100% true. 100% true. I mean, if you think about the Niners, their path before Brock Purdy. Okay, let's just say we don't draft coach. So there was a situation in the draft room where Shanahan wanted to draft Purdy. Shanahan wanted to draft Purdy at the last pick, but other people in the building didn't
hold them or something. Yeah,
they didn't want to because they were like, we already have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Why would we do that? We need this linebacker, and they knew
some random linebacker from South Dakota State. Yeah,
they knew that if they were going to get Purdy, he was going to sign with someone else if they didn't draft him here. And Shanahan, you know what? He's like, you know what? I'll pull the trigger. And if you think about it, they didn't do that. So the Niners season probably plays out exactly the same. You know, Jimmy goes in for Lance, and then Brandon Allen, I guess, goes in for either Brandon Allen.
Can't play, by the way, because we've seen him in the NFL.
What was that?
We know Brandon Allen can't play because we've seen him in games.
Oh, yeah. We know Brandon Allen can't play. And we know that Josh Johnson can't play. I mean, you think about maybe like they go out, like, you know, there was those there were reports that like Phillip Rivers or like someone else, I think Big Ben could have went back. I think that's like really what could have happened that season.
But that's not that's a 1-year rental thing. Like,
and that's such a crazy thing to talk about, right? I mean, like, in no defense, in no disrespect to those guys,
there's no way they were going to play as good as Purdy.
They probably also can't make the McCaffrey trade either.
They probably can make the McCaffrey trade. I mean, I think Jimmy came in like a week before the CMC trade happened.
Like what, week 2, week 3? McCaffrey trade was a couple weeks after that, but
no, actually, I think Purdy came in after the McCaffrey trade. I think they can do it.
Purdy came in, yeah, he did, because he came in for the Miami game, right, which was like week 13, 14.
Yeah, no, I think that CMC trade still goes through, but
yeah,
I mean,
maybe, but like they're not. The point is they're just in a far worse position.
I mean, the position the Niners would have been in is they don't go to the Super Bowl or do anything in 2022. And in the offseason, they have to pick between Jimmy G, drafting a quarterback with the first round pick that they don't have, signing someone in free agency
or just
for the money they don't have, or re-signing
Big Ben screws them even more. They probably would still be with Trey Lance, and he would not be good enough.
They probably would have. I think I agree with that. I think they would have been like, you know what, we have no one else. I think we just kind of have to stick with their decision.
Like a Lance coming off an injury, who Shanahan did not like or see in his plans, and he's a third stringer for the Cowboys now. Like, that's the position the San Francisco 49ers would be in if they did not take Brock Purdy. He saved
window close.
So I think people have to appreciate that more than they do. I don't feel like that's been mentioned at all. So, all right, Lenny, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow night in Vegas?
I think the Niners are going to win, and shouldn't be that surprising.
They're favored.
They don't feel favored.
No, everyone's picking the Chiefs.
I think this is an underdog game for the Niners, regardless of what Vegas says, because no one actually believes they're going to win, if you know what I mean. And I think the Niners, it's really close until like the third or fourth quarter, right? And I think the Niners break away. I truly believe that if the Niners win, there's a lot of different ways it could go down. But I think the way I'm going to go for it, I think I said this in the chat. I'm like, screw it. You know what? Pull the trigger. Niners win like 31-17 or something. Like,
it would be pretty poetic if it were 31-20 and you beat them the same score that they beat you.
That would be so awesome. Honestly, if we went down 20-10, the way that they did, and then we did exactly what they did to us, which it's not going to happen. That there's just no chance that happens.
Well, not the
But
exact same anyway.
if it does happen, it will be the biggest. Like, I don't even know. I've never been more excited than when the Niners came back against the Lions. I don't even know how I'd feel if that happened.
Was that the most excited you've ever been after a win?
That is the most happy as a football fan I have ever been, because it goes from our season's over to we're going to this freaking Super Bowl. Like, it's such a big difference, and you know what I mean. Like, we lost the Lions. We let the Lions go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
we're
will
gonna go play the Chiefs
as a neutral in that. All love to the Lions, and they had a very good year. The seeing a Lions logo in the Super Bowl would have just felt incorrect. It just would not have felt right.
It's weird how the Browns and Lions have both kind of turned around everything. Not that the Browns are like some juggernaut or anything, but the bar was very low for them.
So what's the score? Is going to be 31-17?
31-17. I'm just going for it because I've kind of half convinced myself that the Niners don't have a chance to lose, because the thought, like I've said before, of them losing.
Losing.
Yeah, it's very, very troubling thought.
Who's winning MVP?
I think CMC pulls it out. I think the Niners, when they break that big lead, it's going to be just because they hand the ball off when they have a lead.
I think I made my pick yesterday. It's so hard betting against the Chiefs. Like, you don't make a lot of money betting against the best quarterback and the best head coach in the NFL. You didn't when the Patriots had it. You don't when the Chiefs have it. I think that run game versus that run defense is such a huge edge that so many people are not considering. I think the 49ers have been hardened by their heartbreak and scars over the last couple of years. I think everyone's picking the Chiefs, and that one concerns me. Everyone's betting the Chiefs, which concerns me. I'm going to fade while everyone's going the other way. I think the Chiefs offense has improved, but I also feel like they played a really injured Dolphins defense, a really injured Bills defense, and they had 2 good drives against the Ravens. And I get the Ravens defense is a lot better than the 49ers, but still, I feel like the 49ers, because of the offensive line, the state that the Chiefs offensive line is from their tackles right now, and without Joe Thuney, I feel like the Niners will be able to get some pressure. And I feel like the Niners can almost control the tempo of the game with the run game, and I don't think the Chiefs will be comfortable enough offensively to match points. I think it'll be a really close game. I think it'll be a really fun game. I think it'll be a short game. I think, like you said the other day, I think both teams
inside the tackles. Everything's going to be inside the tackles.
I think both teams will try to run the ball a lot. But I think this is the year the 49ers get it done. I think they win it 27-24. I think McCaffrey wins MVP. I'm concerned because I don't know how you felt, but I was so confident that the Ravens would beat the Chiefs, and they just had
I wasn't confident, honestly.
Right.
I honestly was I don't know who's going to win. I felt like I didn't know.
I'm less sure about the Niners winning than I was the Ravens winning, so maybe that's a good omen for you guys. But
I hope so.
I think people are underestimating the run game versus the run defense, and I think
it's not a flashy thing to talk
people's
about.
Analysis of why the Chiefs are going to win, and Mitch said this yesterday.
It's been terrible. It's gross.
Just like Mahomes and Reed. It's no like actual matchup reasons or like statistical evidence. I feel like there are more paths for a 49er win here. And it's interesting to me because if you were basing it off how these teams played in the regular season, there's no doubt in my mind everyone should pick the 49ers. And if you were basing it how they've played in the playoffs, there's no doubt in my mind everyone should pick the Chiefs. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy, but I feel like the 49ers are a slightly better team. I think they're favored for a reason. I'm going to trust Vegas. I think the 49ers, this is their year to get it done.
I really hope so, man. I really hope
I hope so for your sake, man. Like,
the shit talking will be immaculate if we
if you guys I almost feel like if you guys don't win it this year, you're just going to be like, next year's regular season for 49er fans just going to be like, who cares, man? Like,
if we lose again, it's just going to be like, if we don't win the Super Bowl, who cares? It's going to feel the exact same way.
The point you've gotten to as a franchise now. So All right, Lenny. It's been awesome. It's been it's been interesting to see how you felt about this whole thing. It was awesome talking to you again on here. Maybe we'll do a reaction to the Super Bowl after it occurs. We'll see if we have time for that. But
maybe it'll be pretty late, probably.
Well, we can do it maybe in the days after, but yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. Any final thoughts or?
I think my final thought is I would really like to make Taylor Swift cry. I think that would be really cool. I think if anyone got in an argument with me, like it was a Chiefs fan, I would just send that picture to them.
Yeah. On that note, I'll let everyone go. Thanks for watching. Go check out social medias in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that said, God bless.